Gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Week 5 is in the books for the NFL. There was a lot of things that happened in week 5, and uncharacteristically, a lot of teams that had losing records were able to come back and win. And also, the last game of the day that I'm gonna cover is Monday Night Football last night between the Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was a very entertaining game. But first, I'm going to start off with how week 5 first started. It was the 49ers and the Rams, and I'm just going to give y'all the statistics on this game. You got Mac Jones, 33 of 49, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Matthew Stafford, 30 of 47, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Now, what can I say? Both of these teams are going to end up in the playoffs. That's what I'm going to say. But you also have the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. Either one of those teams could be the NFC West champion. Either one of them. And also, the rushing attack for both of these teams were pretty much non existent. You had 78 yards for the Rams, and you had 74 yards for the 49ers. I got to give credit where credit is due. Kyle Shanahan is, no matter what players, no matter what quarterbacks he has, Kyle Shanahan is able to will his team to victory and put up the proper game plan for any quarterback. He's done it with Jimmy G, he's done it with Brock Purdy, and now he is doing it with Mac Jones at the helm. As far as the Rams concerned, Rams, they had turnovers. They had 3 turnovers in this game, well, 2 turnovers in this game, and both of those turnovers proved costly. And the time of possession. The 49ers pretty much dominated time of possession, 40 minutes to 26 minutes. And then you had the third down efficiency. Third down efficiency for the 49ers was 7 of 18. Rams, third down efficiency, 4 of 10. You're not going to win very many games when you are 4 of 10 in the third down department. So, all in all, this game was a very, very entertaining game. And that was just the start of what week 5 came to be. That's all. Just the start. The next game I'm going to cover is the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns. Minnesota Vikings, Carson Wentz, 25 of 34, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Dillon Gabriel, 19 of 33, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You had the Cleveland Browns rushing attack to crack over 100 yards, 140. And you had the Vikings rushing crack. Well, they didn't crack, but they stayed under 100 yards. They had 97. The receiving for the Vikings, 268 yards. Receiving for the Browns, 190 yards. One thing I can say about the Browns is we all know that the Browns are a work in progress. I say it every week on the show that the Browns are a work in progress. The Minnesota Vikings, we don't know exactly what they are. They could be a below average team or an above average team. But every which way, the Vikings are just better than the Browns, and they showed that in the last few seconds of this game. Here are the game statistics for the Vikings and Browns. You can see that everything pretty much was close. The third down department, both of them were bad. 3 of 9 for the Vikings, 3 of 15 for the Browns. Nothing was really exciting about this game until the last 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes, that's when everything it started to become entertaining. But in the end, The Vikings, they win this game. And the Browns are 1-4. Now the question is, how long will Dylan Gabriel be able to play before they start putting in Shedeur Sanders? Because Shedeur Sanders, he is going to play this season. It may not be this week coming up, and it may not be the following week, but he is going to play. The next game I'm going to cover is the Indianapolis Colts and the Las Vegas Raiders. This was pretty much a blowout. I stopped looking at this game at the end of the third quarter. I did, because at that time, the Colts, it was already 27-6. The Raiders didn't do anything all day. You got Geno Smith, 25-36, 228 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You got Daniel Jones. Now, I like his nickname, Daniel Indiana Jones, but I got to see him play against top-notch competition. Now, credit, he did great against the Rams. Let's see if he can do great against upper echelon teams like the Chiefs, the Jaguars, the Steelers, and teams in the NFC, the 49ers, the Rams. He just did great against the Rams. Seattle, they still got to play Seattle. Now, Daniel Jones, 29 or 20 or 29, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Colts are possibly a great team. We still got to see, can they do this on a week in, week out basis? They did. They have done it every week. Even in a losing effort to the Rams, the Colts were still looked like the better team against the Rams. Now, the Raiders, 1-4, season is pretty much over with, and we all know that coming into the season, the Raiders, they were pretty much going to be a decent team no matter what. But you got Pete Carroll saying that he wins 10 games. He's won 10 games every year for the last 20 years in football. This season, it seems like it's going to take a while for him to... I don't even think the Raiders can get the 10 games this year. I just don't. Because you got the Chiefs that you got to play in a couple of weeks. You got the Chargers that you have to play at home in Las Vegas, and you still have the Broncos to play in Denver and in Vegas. You also have a couple teams. You have the Jaguars coming up. Now, I'm going to say that I'm going to save my Jaguars segment for a little bit later on in the show, but the Raiders, they have a tough road. The Colts, they did what they were supposed to do. When it comes to rushing, 96 yards rushing for the Colts, 106 yards rushing for the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, receiving for the Colts, you got an elite amount of wide receivers for the Colts, and you have a good running back, and Daniel Jones. I know that apology. I know I got to give Daniel Jones an apology of saying that he was a bad quarterback, but I'm not ready to do it. When the Colts make it to the playoffs, then I will apologize. Now, anybody that watches this, I'm going to say, by the time the end of the season, I'm going to apologize to Daniel Jones. The next game I am going to cover, here's the statistics for the Colts and Raiders. This was pretty much, a one-sided affair. You could see all throughout these statistics. The next game I am going to cover is going to be the New York Giants and the New Orleans Saints. Now, both of these teams are going in the same direction. You got the Giants. I mean, after last week when they beat the Chargers, everybody was saying, could this be a turning point in the Giants season? And obviously we know that the Chargers, they are going to Charger, because early in the season, around week 1, week 2, week 3, we were saying that the Chargers may dethrone the Chiefs, but like I said, the Chargers they were on a bye week this week, and the Giants still having problems. Jackson Dart, 26 of 40, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Spencer Rattler, 21 of 31, 225 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Now, one thing I can say when it comes to the Giants, running back Cam Scatterboo, he's consistent. The Giants, over the last 8 years, the Giants have either been the second worst or the worst team in the NFL. The Saints, on the other hand, they haven't recovered from Drew Brees' retirement yet. They haven't, because they have been trying to find the right quarterback for the Saints. They have been. But one thing I can say is you got Chris Olave, you still got Alvin Kamara. You can build around those guys, and you can also build around Spencer Rattler. You can also do that. Now, another thing, when it comes to the Saints have got a tough road ahead. The Giants have a tough road ahead. But I think that the worst team when it comes to the Giants and the Saints, I believe it's the Giants. Because, like I said, Jackson Dart, Giants fans, you already have your franchise, your QB for the future in Jackson Dart. Now, one thing the Giants have to do is get him a good offensive line. You already have Malik Neighbors. Get you another dominant wide receiver that can help out Malik Neighbors. Get you some bell cow running backs. Get you some tight ends. And the Giants, they will be a formidable opponent for years to come. But that's only if they do what they have to do in the draft. If they don't do what they have to do in the draft, they are not going to be able to be successful. And the Saints, we all know that the Saints are a work in progress too. I give the Saints maybe 3 years, and then they will be back in the playoffs. So that is all I have to say for the Giants and the Saints game. The next game I am going to cover is the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. The New York Jets. There are some statistics that I'm going to throw out here with the Jets. But first, I got to get to my Cowboys. I got to get to Dak Prescott, 18 of 29, 237 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I got to get to my running back, Javonte Williams, 16 carries, 135 yards. The Dallas Cowboys are the number 1 offense in the NFL, averaging 39 points a game, almost 40 points a game. But we got to work on that defense now. We got to work on that defense. But I like what Dak is doing. Dak didn't have his number 1 receiver in CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens has became a number 1 receiver in CeeDee Lamb's absence. I'm going to show y'all George Pickens. He only had 2 receptions, but those 2 receptions, he made them count. The first reception, 43-yard touchdown. Second reception, a 16-yard gain. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to, and also, one thing I can say is, I know this is the Jets. I know everybody is going to say that this is the Jets. But the Dallas Cowboys defense did a good job. They did. Because the first drive of the game, the Jets, they was just surging down the field. They were surging down the field. They started off at the 25-yard line, got all the way down to the 6-yard line, and the Jets had to kick a field goal. The Jets had to kick a field goal. Now, one thing I can say about Dallas is I can say that the Dallas Cowboys have a progressing defense. Even though that this is the Jets, we all know that the Jets, when healthy, the Jets, they have one of the best offenses in the NFL. Because the Jets, the first game against the Steelers, they scored 32 points. Second game, they scored 24 points. Third game, they scored 27 points. So the Jets, they do have a good offense. But the Cowboys, when it comes to their offense, number one in the league in offense, number one in points, number one in third down efficiency. You got Dak Prescott becoming an MVP, but I like what Dak said in his press conference. He said that he doesn't care. He wants to get to the playoffs. And I've been telling y'all something. Dak Prescott told the Rams owner back in the preseason, he said that we will see y'all in the NFC Championship game. I don't know if y'all like a quarterback to have that kind of confidence, but I like my quarterback to have that kind of confidence to go to the owner's box of another team and say that we gonna see you in the championship game. It only tells me that my quarterback is confident in the team. The defense, we just got to get the defense going, and we got the defense going. Now, this is the Jets. Now, one thing, Cowboys this coming week, they have the Panthers. Now, let's see if if the Cowboys defense can translate what they did to the Jets to the Panthers, because Bryce Young, he had a good game versus the Miami Dolphins. He did. And as far as the New York Jets, now, I was looking at something when it comes to Justin Fields, and this statistic is staggering. I'm going to say this twice, but Justin Fields, when his opponents scores over 20 points, Justin Fields is 0-26. Justin Fields is 0-26 when opponents score 20 points or more. Now, that's a staggering statistic to me. That statistic shows me that your defense can't hold up. You as the quarterback and your offense is stagnant. 0-26, I don't want it. I don't want my quarterback to be 0-26 on anything. But really, he hasn't even won. He couldn't win one game out of 26. That's bad. That's all I have to say for the Cowboys and the New York Jets. The next game I am going to cover is the Denver Broncos and the Philadelphia Eagles. Denver Broncos, they went into Philadelphia and got a win when nobody thought that they could. Even me, I thought that the Eagles would be able to win this game. But let me get to the elephant that's in the damn room right now. Saquon Barkley, only 6 carries. I mean, really, only 6 carries. Jalen Hurts, I love me some Jalen Hurts, 28 of 38, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Eagles, they were not efficient. Now, I know that a lot of people going to say that, well, Jalen Hurts ain't giving his players the ball. I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts is getting his players the ball. Don't y'all see Devontae Smith? He had over 100 yards. A.J. Brown, now A.J. Brown, he only had 43 yards, but, you know, the Eagles, everybody is coming at the Eagles right now, whether it's on the field or in the media. We know that the Eagles are the reigning defending champion, and we know that everybody is going to try and make a story out of the Eagles. Now, when it comes to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, those situations off the field, that don't bring too much into that, but like I've been hearing from sources that both Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown aren't happy with the touches that they are getting in the game. So that's pretty much a story in and of itself that we are going to have to focus on throughout the rest of the regular season. When it comes to the Eagles, penalties that pretty much hurt them in this game. They had 9 penalties. The Eagles had 9 penalties in this game. The Broncos, they had 12 penalties for 121 yards. and still won the game. That don't make no sense. But like I said, this week in the NFL, week 5 was a snafu. And if anybody don't know what the word snafu means, it means a chaotic situation. Week 5 of the NFL, it was a very chaotic situation. You had the Broncos come back from 14 points with under 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You also had the Eagles, for the first time in the Nick Sirianni era, them blow a 14-point lead. Now, when it came now with the Eagles, them throughout their history having a 14-point lead, they go on to win those games 89% of the time. This was the one loss, was the one blemish. Before then, it was 100% of the time, Eagles 14-point lead, they would go on to win. But the Denver Broncos had different ideas. Now, that's all I have to say for the Broncos and the Eagles. The next game I'm going to cover is the one where it seemed like nobody, and I do mean nobody, picked the Panthers to win. The Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers. The Miami Dolphins, they are 1-4. Tua Tagovailoa, 27 of 36, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Bryce Young, 19 of 30, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. As far as the game goes, I'm pretty sure I'm going to hear questions, and I've already heard questions since the start of yesterday. Did the Miami Dolphins lose this game, or did the Panthers win this game? I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins gave this game away, because you are up 17 points halfway through the third quarter, and all of a sudden you got the Carolina Panthers going on a score rampage. I mean, I'm going to say in the last 17 minutes of this game, the Panthers, they scored 3 times and they kicked 2 field goals. The Dolphins, it's a lot of stuff that is happening down there in Miami right now, and it is not good. You got your top wide receiver injured for the rest of the season. You got Mike McDaniel taking his glasses off, coming into the locker room, and you also have a team in the Miami Dolphins that are just, they have so many players but don't know how to use them. Now you know me, I love Miami. It's a good vacation spot. But if the Dolphins ain't winning, there's so many more other things to do in Miami. Lord knows I've been down there multiple times in my lifetime. So the Miami Dolphins, if the Miami Dolphins ain't winning, other people in Miami, they can go to a Heat game, a Marlins game, or something like that. Or they could pretty much, go to a sports trivia night game in Miami, because it's a lot of that going on, because the Dolphins ain't going nowhere this season. They're 1-4, and in the history of the NFL, no team has ever started off a season 1-4 and made it to the playoffs. But there is a first time for everything. But the Miami Dolphins, I just don't see it with them. I just don't. With Bryce Young, he started off shaky, but he was able to win, find a way to win. And in the NFL, when you a quarterback, and when not just in the NFL, but when you are the leader of a franchise, a channel, or whatever, any kind of business or something, you gonna have days where it starts off rough. But at the end of the game, end of the week, end of the month, or end of the year, you get a return on your investment. You succeed all expectations that you sought out for that season, year, or month. It's all worth it in the end. And for the Panthers, it's all worth it in the end. They are 2-3 right now. Could the Panthers make could the Panthers make a run at the playoffs? I don't know if they're gonna be able to win versus the Cowboys. Hopefully the Cowboys defense be on their job and stop the Panthers. Now, that's all I have to say for the Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers. The next game I'm going to cover is the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens are 1-4. First time in their history. The Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson is still out for a couple more weeks. Then the Ravens, they have a bye week in week 7. The Houston Texans, before the Houston Texans played the Ravens, I thought that this was the most anemic, putrid offense that I had ever seen. And I like CJ Stroud. I'm trying to get CJ Stroud to come on the show. So CJ Stroud, if you're seeing this, please get back in contact with me. I know we all busy. But I would love to have CJ Stroud on the show. But back to what I was saying, the Houston Texans, CJ Stroud, 23 of 27, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And you see where the bottom pretty much fell out the barrel in this game. In the first 12 minutes of this game, the Texans, they scored 3 touchdowns. And they had a couple of touchdowns scored on defense. Rushing attack for the Houston Texans, 167 yards. Rushing attack for the Ravens, only 44 yards. I don't know what's going on, but Derrick Henry only having 33 yards, I've never seen this before in my life. Even when he was dominating in high school, he didn't have 33 yards total in a game. He may have had 33 yards on just one run play, but 33 yards total in a game, that is bad for the Ravens in this case. And it is pretty bad because the Ravens, they got to face a team, they got to face upper echelon teams on their schedule. They still got to face the Steelers. They got to face the Jaguars. Now, we already know the Jaguars, hey, I'm going to tell y'all something about them Jaguars a little bit later on in the show. But Jaguars got a formidable opponent. They are a formidable opponent. But the Ravens, 1-4. And before the bye week, you could potentially be 1-6. So is the season over for the Ravens? I'm not going to say that just yet, but if they lose another game, or if they just go on ahead and lose those remaining games before their bye week, then their season will be over with. The Texans, 2-3, they needed this game to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they pretty much did what they had to do, going into a hostile environment. Ravens not at top speed. They are undermanned. The Ravens have 15 players who are injured right now, so it's pretty much going to be a long season for the Ravens. The Texans, still the doormat of the AFC South. But let me tell you, that AFC South, it is coming together. It is coming together. The next game I'm going to cover is the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals. The last 3 games, I can say the Cardinals, they have lost every game in their last 3 games by the last second. 49ers, 15-16, last second kick. Also, Seahawks, last second kick, 23-20. And then you have the Titans on Sunday, 22-21, last second kick. Cardinals, like I said, early in the season after them first two games, I was saying, I'm like, the Cardinals, they always start off the season like that. In the first three games, they start off 2-1, 3-0. And then when we get to that point where it's week 5 or week 6, we will see the true Cardinals team. And we have Kyler Murray, 23 of 31, 220 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The rushing attack for the Cardinals, 168. Titans rushing attack, 78 yards. Cam Ward, he had a good game. 21 of 39, 265 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. This game was pretty much one of the, I'm going to say this game really wasn't even entertaining if I'm going to be real. Nobody was focused on this game really. I saw 85% of this game, and the last 15%, I could just tell you some plays off of the top of my head without even watching the entirety of the game, because this game didn't have no excitement at all. It didn't. And as you can see, the statistics, everything was pretty much the same. Third down efficiency, the Titans, they had a tough day on third down. The Cardinals, they had a third day. They had a tough day on third down. 7 of 16. So this game was pretty much, it lacked excitement and intriguement. That's what it did. The next game I'm going to cover is the Buccaneers and the Seattle Seahawks. The Buccaneers, 4-1. They are some road warriors. They haven't lost a road game all season. The Seahawks, Sam Darnold, 28 of 34, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Baker Mayfield, 29 of 33, 379 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Rushing attack for the Buccaneers, 56 yards. It was non-existent. Rushing attack for the Seattle Seahawks was 122 yards. Kenneth Walker, we already know he had the bulk of the load when it comes to rushing. Tampa Bay receiving, Emeka Egbuka, 163 yards. Top wide receiver with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jackson Smith-Njigba, 132 yards. Top wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. This was a very entertaining game. This was one of the best games of week 5, I can say. The Buccaneers and the Seattle Seahawks. Look at this. Statistics, 7 of 11. Third down when it comes to the Buccaneers. Seahawks, 6 of 9 on third down. But one thing that proved costly was those turnovers. Fumbles and interceptions. The Seahawks, they had fumble-litis in this game, and they had turnover-litis. You had the running back fumble the ball, Kenneth Walker. You had Sam Darnold throw an interception, and that proved costly in this game. The Buccaneers, they are a team that is going to make the playoffs no matter what. The Seahawks, they are in a tough matchup between the Rams and the 49ers, because the Rams and Seahawks, they have the same record at 3-2. The 49ers are 4-1. That's all I have to say for the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. The next game I'm going to cover, it really wasn't an interesting game until the last few minutes. The Lions and the Bengals. Jared Goff, 19 of 23, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jake Browning, 251 yards, 3 TDs, 3 interceptions. All of those interceptions proved costly. Rushing attack for the Bengals was 85 yards. The rushing attack for the Lions, 118 yards. Statistics for the Lions and Bengals when it comes to receiving, when it comes to defense are all here, and team statistics as a whole when it comes to third downs. Third down efficiency for the Lions. They had a bad day, 2 of 8, and somehow they still won this game. What do I always say? When you are 2 of 8 or 4 of 11 on third down, you are going to lose. But somebody had to win this game. They did. Somebody had to win this game. Total yards, 365 for the Lions, 322 for the Bengals. One thing I can say is the Bengals ain't going to the playoffs. The Lions are a Super Bowl contender. I can go ahead and say that. I can say that with the utmost confidence. Utmost. And as far as both of these teams had a severe case of turnoveritis, you had 1 turnover for the Lions and you had 3 turnovers for the Bengals. Now, the Bengals have a tough road ahead. The Lions, they have the Chiefs this coming week. Let's see what the Lions can do, and let's see if the Lions can go into Arrowhead and win. Now, they've already did that. They did that a couple of years ago. The next game I'm going to cover is the Washington Commanders and the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, 22 of 29, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I said this going into the season, there will be a game where the Chargers, Justin Herbert, he is going to have to throw the Chargers to a victory, and he was not able to do that. He wasn't. Because you can see when it comes to the Chargers rushing attack, they are a run first team. They had 155 yards rushing. Jaden Daniels, 15 of 26, 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Didn't have a good game, but didn't need to. Rushing attack for the Washington Commanders, 163 yards. Receiving for the Commanders, 231. Receiving for the Rams, the Chargers, 210. Turnovers in this game. I keep on saying, everybody had a severe case of turnoveritis in week 5. The last 2 or 3 games that I'm going to talk about, everybody had turnovers in this game. Chargers, they had 2 turnovers, and the Washington Commanders had 1 turnover. All in all, this was a very mellow game because Chargers, they had the lead 10-0, and then Commanders scored 27 unanswered to win the game. And that's basically how the game pretty much ended, because you really didn't have anybody to worry about on the Chargers. You didn't. Sunday Night Football, the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. One thing I can say about the Buffalo Bills, they got some competition on their hands. Because over the last 5 years, the Buffalo Bills, it's just been a cakewalk for them when it comes to the AFC East. But now you have a quarterback in Drake May who went into a hostile environment. 22 of 30, 273 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And I'm going to tell you, I told everybody that this game would be close. I picked the Buffalo Bills to win this game, but I had said if the Buffalo Bills do win this game, it will be by 3 points, or the most will be 10 points. But the Patriots, they showed a road warrior mentality, and they ended up winning. And Drake May, this was his coming out party. This was his first primetime matchup, and he was able to win it. Now, the Buffalo Bills have competition with the Patriots. Right now, the Patriots are in second place. The Buffalo Bills are in fourth place. Now, there is, after last night, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. After last night, there are four teams in the AFC South that are 4-1. The Colts, the Buffalo Bills, and the Jacksonville Jaguars all have a chance at getting the number one seed and having home field advantage throughout the playoffs on their way to the Super Bowl. Now I didn't know that. Well, I did know that. And then once I told everybody that last night, everybody, and I do mean everybody, they started to get excited. Now y'all already know I'm going to tell y'all a few more statistics about the Patriots and the Bills game, and then we are going to finish the show off with the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Here are the remaining statistics for the Buffalo Bills and the Patriots. Buffalo Bills, penalty yards, 90 penalty yards, uncharacteristic from them. Penalties for the Patriots, 8 penalties, 93 yards, uncharacteristic for them. Turnovers in this game. Turnover-litis. Everybody had turnover-litis in week 5. Fumble-litis. Even everybody had fumble-litis. Turnovers. Bills had 3 turnovers. The Patriots had 1 turnover. All in all, congratulations to the Patriots on upsetting the Buffalo Bills and showing everybody that the Patriots have a chance at making the playoffs. Now, I told everybody coming into the season that the Patriots would make I didn't say that they would make the playoffs, but they are 2 or 3 years away from making the playoffs. But they can make the playoffs this season with the way Drake May and that team is going. They can make the playoffs this season. And I would not be surprised come week 15 or week 16 and we have the Patriots in the playoff conversation. Now, last night was Monday Night Football, and the man of the hour is Trevor Lawrence. Now, I understand that he had an interception. I do. I understand that. But we going to look past that interception right now. The Jaguars, first time ever in franchise history, starting off 4-1. Oh, my goodness. I seen this game in its entirety, and it started off ugly. It was 14-0, and I'm pretty sure if anybody was watching this game in its entirety, the Jaguars went down. Trevor Lawrence, he almost threw his first interception in the first half. But that was on that play where the ball, it bounced off of 5 players and it fell harmlessly to the ground. When I seen that, it was just so much. I kind of froze for a little bit. And I was like, did that really just happen? Because you had 2 guys for the Kansas City Chiefs that could have easily caught that ball. Easily. But obviously, the ball fell harmlessly to the ground. And the Jaguars were able to. They didn't score. They didn't score on that possession. But the Jaguars were able to find a way to score just before halftime. Now, there's just so much to unravel about this game. So much, because Trevor Lawrence, as far as running, he doesn't run too much, but he had over 50 yards running, to be exact, 54 yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. The Kansas City Chiefs, everybody knows that Kansas City Chiefs gonna make the playoffs. But last night it was about the Jacksonville Jaguars. It really was, because outside of the interception that Trevor threw, he played a complete flawless game. And I'm gonna get to the wide receivers. You had Brian Thomas Jr. He had a big game, 4 receptions, 80 yards. Travis Hunter, he had 3 receptions, 64 yards. Also, the defense. Oh my goodness. The defense for the Jaguars came through when they had to last night. I mean, they did. 99-yard interception. It turned the momentum of the game. It did. It turned the momentum. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, did that really just happen? But Devin Lloyd, I mean, that play, that play really changed the momentum for the Jaguars in the game. But before that play started, Devin Lloyd, he already coming into this game, he already had 3 interceptions. He didn't return neither of those interceptions for a touchdown. But Monday Night Football, and I mean the Jaguars, they needed a stop. They needed a stop right then. But Devin Lloyd, he intercepted Patrick Mahomes' pass, went back 99 yards for a touchdown, and let me tell you, the excitement after that play, I mean, just all over at the game and even at sports bars all over the city. The whole city of Jacksonville last night was just excited to see that the Jaguars are relevant, and they in their entire Jaguars existence, they have never started off a home stretch in a season where they start off 3-0. That has never happened before. Now let me get to the final drive of the game. Trevor Lawrence, he earned his stripes last night. He did. Over the past couple of years, I've been hearing people say that Everbank should be called Trevor Bank. Hey, it's called Trevor Bank now. Because one thing, Trevor, he did throw that interception and he did have a fumble. But one thing I noticed last night, Trevor Lawrence, he shook that turnover. He shook all them turnovers off. He shook the fumble off. He shook the interception off. And the last drive was a game-changing drive, a game-defining drive, a season momentum drive. And after the game last night, the Jaguars are in a 3-way tie for the number 1 spot in the AFC. In the AFC. And everybody knows if you get that number 1 spot in the AFC, everybody got to come to your home stadium, and that's the easiest way to get to the playoffs, but you got to win in the playoffs. Now, I'm so happy for the Jaguars right now because there has never been a moment where everybody, and I do mean everybody, was so excited. The coaching staff, Liam Cohen, man, I give my props to him. I give my props to him because after that interception and that fumble that Trevor Lawrence had, Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence came to the sideline. Liam Cohen talked to him, and he had said, "Hey, settle down, shake it off," and he said, "We are going to win this game." And even at halftime, Travis Hunter said this, Trevor Lawrence said this. We are going to get back to what we do best. And they got back to what they did best. They did. Now, the last drive of the game. Last drive of the game, everybody, and I do mean everybody in that stadium, everybody that was looking on TV was nervous. I was nervous too. Now, I did pick the Chiefs in this game, but I had said for Trevor Lawrence, for the stadium to be called Trevor Bank or the Lawrence Law Firm or anything like that, Trevor would have to come through, and he did. First play was an incomplete pass. I'm like, come on now, come on. Second play, incomplete pass. I'm like, come on, guys. Y'all got to get a first down. Third down and 7, and let me tell you, that was one of the most prettiest passes that I ever seen from Trevor Lawrence. And that was one of his best passes of last night. 3rd down and 7, a 31-yard gain to Brian Thomas Jr. And that play was critical because it was 3rd and 7. If you don't get that first down on 3rd and 7, everything comes down to a 4th down. So after that, they got down there, and it seemed like they started to revert backwards a little bit. They went to the 10-yard line, went back to the 15, got to the 8-yard line, and then that third down, that third down in the game, almost the last play of the game. 3rd down and goal. 23, well, not 23, but 30 seconds left. Lawrence goes back to pass, and when he fell down, I was like, oh man, I'm like, they done lost. And then all of a sudden, you know, I wasn't looking at the television at that point. I had my hands over my eyes, but all of a sudden I started to hear the crowd, and the crowd, they started to have more and more excitement. And then I started looking at the television. He got back up, and it seemed like he was struggling to get to the end zone, but he reached out. He reached out for it, and he had got in, and that was the perfect birthday present for him. But let me tell y'all something. Can the Jaguars make it to the playoffs? Yes, they can. Can they host? Can they be the host in the playoffs? Yes. Do y'all see the Jaguars remaining schedule? They are 4-1 right now. I could see the Jaguars winning 12 games. I can see it because you got Seattle this coming Sunday. Now, right now, the Jaguars are underdog against Seattle. We can show. I'm gonna give y'all the point spread for that game right now. So as of right now, when it came out, now the Jaguars are a favorite at home, a 1.5-point favorite. Now, everything is pointing towards the Jaguars right now. We know that the Buffalo Bills are 4-1. We know the Colts are 4-1. But I would not be surprised if the Jaguars, when it comes to the type of team I saw last night, the Jaguars have an opportunity to host the AFC Championship game. They do. They do. Now, can they go ahead and do it? Yes. Trevor, we can't have turnovers and interceptions late in the ball game like that. But I know that is easier said than done. Now check it. I was a quarterback back in middle school, so I understand, Trevor, everything, all of his wide receivers was covered up last night. And that's where his running attack and running style came in at. But obviously, I'm going to go to one thing that I'm going to go to is playoff scenarios. Yes, I know we are getting to that point in the season where the playoff scenarios and the playoff picture is becoming more and more evident right now. Now we see where the Colts are 4-1, the Bills are 4-1, the Jaguars are now 4-1. As of right now, they are at the number 5th spot in terms of the playoff picture. Now, I'm not focused on the playoff picture right now. I'm just focused on the records. Colts, Bills, and the Jaguars are 4-1. All of them have a chance to get the number 1 seed and have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Now, the current percentage that the Jaguars are going to make the playoffs, 66%. 66%. All in all, I am going to say that this was a signature, and I do mean a signature win for Trevor Lawrence. This is the kind of step that you take in your career. If you want to be known as a team, a formidable team, and a team when you come to Jacksonville, you want everybody to know that, okay, when we play Jacksonville, we know we're going to have a tough time on our hands with them. That is exactly how the field was last night. That's how the field was in the city last night. Okay, when this team comes to play the Jaguars, they going to have trouble on their hands. And now the Jaguars, they didn't just show America what they were made of last night. They showed the whole NFL what they was made of, because the Chiefs, the past 3 years, the Chiefs have been the AFC champion. And the last time the Jaguars were in the playoffs and had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs won that game. And I go back to that. If the Jaguars win that game versus the Chiefs in the playoffs, the Jaguars are winning the Super Bowl, no matter what. I don't care if the Eagles made it to the playoff, to the Super Bowl that year. The Jaguars were going to win the Super Bowl that year. Now we get to present day and present time. Jaguars, first time since 2009 that they've won over the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I am okay with them because they are 2-3. They're gonna make the playoffs. But for the Jaguars, last night was about the Jaguars. Jaguars are a team that is going to be a tough outing for anybody now. Because you done beat the Chiefs. Now the Jaguars this week, they're playing against the Seahawks, and the following week they're playing against another good team in the LA Rams. But there were a lot of people that I saw last night, after years of, putting up their Jaguars apparel, after years of, after the first 2 or 3 weeks of throwing their Jaguars apparel in the closet and getting ready for the following season. Last night, everybody, and I do mean everybody, got their Jaguars apparel out of their closets, and they felt good to wear it last night. They did. They felt good. The city last night after the game was it was pandemonium, I can tell you. It was the police department. It was so many police officers on guard last night. It was. But it was just a fun, exciting moment and night for the Jaguars, because the Jaguars are finally getting recognition. I know all over ESPN, the Jaguars are going to be all over ESPN, because they was all over ESPN last night after the game. So, more revenue, and this goes out well for everybody. It goes out well for Shad Khan. It goes out well for city revenue, because it's a lot more people that's going to be watching the Jaguars now. It is. No matter what region or state you in, a lot of people going to watch the Jaguars. Because what did the Jaguars do? They went out to the West Coast and beat up on that West Coast team, the 49ers. Came back home and beat the 3-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. And now you are going to be playing against 2 NFC West teams. Jaguars are on their way. The bye week, they have a bye week in week 8. Could the Jaguars be 7-1 or 6-1 before their bye week and have sole possession of the number 1 seed in the AFC? Because we already know that the Jaguars, they gonna make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. They are going to make it to the playoffs, because I can say that with the utmost confidence because Liam Cohen, he has instilled the confidence in these guys. The defensive coordinator, this is his first season as a defensive coordinator, but he's doing a pretty damn good job now. He is. He is doing a pretty damn good job. You got that whole coaching staff for the Jaguars excited. You got the players enthusiastic. You got the whole city being enthusiastic right now. And me, oh my goodness, I can say one thing. The Jaguars have given me some good content. Some good content for the show. I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of clips that you are going to see from today's show that will be uploaded later on in the day. But as for that, those are my reactions to week 5 of the 2025 NFL season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the KeyOnMillions.co. Remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.